There's a ton of money.
But this certainly, Paddock, this had nothing to do with money. It just had to do with the fact that he was a lunatic and he wanted to kill as many innocent people as possible. And then we have this coward police officer, and I'll continue to say it, folks. I don't care. Officer Cordell Hendricks is a coward, in my opinion. 257-5396. Let's go to Josh. Josh, what's going on?
Hey, I was at Route 91 and quite heavily involved in Route 91. And a lot of this, I don't just blame on the officer that didn't go in there. I blame it on the training.
I do too.
And I'll tell you why too. You know, there's situations that happen. I mean, I don't know if in the back of these patrol cars they have semis, if they have bulletproof vests. If these guys are on the force for 10 years, 15 years, do they ever retrain them? Is there anything to get them?
But Josh, that's a valid point. Josh, make no mistake about it. You're making some very valid points. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but you understand my point. And look, I won't put 100%. Look, the person we put blame on is Paddock because he's the one who pulled the trigger. But there were a lot of people that made a lot of mistakes along the way. Now, this, if you ask me, someone that waits for 20 minutes when he hears gunshots being fired, I'm going to call that person a coward. Now, I'm not saying you're wrong, Josh. Perhaps training needs to be better in different circumstances. Don't disagree. But are you comfortable with this guy trying to become a cop again, remaining a police officer?
No, I'm not. And you know what? I mean, we get down to it. We have video of the guys up on the four guys up on the floor,
right,
on the 32nd floor,
right,
and didn't make a move either. And they were all labeled as heroes, and I watched them on Fox News be heroes.
Yeah. I wasn't a fan of that.
Well, I don't even understand what the hero classify is. I mean, I ran in and out of that thing carrying bodies out, just so you know.
Are you a police officer, Josh?
I'm not. I'm just going to leave it at the fact that I went in and out, and everybody in Route 91 knows me. Just about everybody.
Okay, so I want to ask you what you do for work. I'm so sorry you had to do that, and you are a hero, and thank goodness there are great people like you.
I did what you would have done, and a lot of other men and women would have done.
We never know, Josh, we never know what we would do unless we're put in that situation. I would hope I would have acted as heroically as you. I hate to ask you this question, but, gosh, I mean, how many bodies did you have to carry out of that thing?
Well, I had I don't want to give away. We'll say I had at least 8.
Oh, my goodness. Did they survive, or do you know how?
Yeah, and one of them was real iffy, I mean, there's just some heroic stories in it. And
that's something, Josh, that you'll never, the images, I would imagine, for you personally, you'll never forget that for the rest of your life.
I won't, but, I'm going to be honest, and I don't know exactly why, and when it all happened, I was interviewed a lot, and I can tell you that it didn't affect me. It didn't scare me.
Can I ask you another question though? When you were carrying those bodies out, did you still hear gunshots, or was the gunfire?
Oh.
So you're telling me you went back in there carrying bodies. Where were you carrying the bodies, by the way? I don't want to get you in trouble, my friend.
No,
but,
I know.
Yeah.
I'm, you know what I mean? Let me see. I was in the very, very, very front row of the parking lot in the VIP parking lot.
Okay, got you. So you were carrying bodies, going back in when you heard gunshots fired. Listen, you sound like a very modest guy, Josh, but I'll just say it for you, man. You are the opposite of this police officer, Cordell Hendricks, sir.
I understand.
Make no mistake about it. You are a hero. You risked your life to save others. I don't know how I would have acted in that situation, sir, but seriously, you are a true hero. And you know what? You are the type of person that I want to hear talk about this issue. You are exactly the type of person that deserves a voice when it comes to this officer.
Look, I can tell you this much, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, and we all say that we won't know unless we're in that position. If I was one of those officers on the floor in that hallway when he was firing with my handgun, I would have made it down the hall somehow and attempted.
And I know you would have, Josh.
And if I didn't make it, I didn't make it. But
right.
I can tell you this. I saw, and look, even on the street, the officers were yelling, "Get down, get out of the way."
Right.
They're under their cars, basically, with their handguns out while the assault rifle is firing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember saying, you seem very scared.
You said that to one of the officers while the shooting was happening?
I did.
Wow. And what was the response?
I need to get down before I get hit. Now, at that time, I will say this: no one knew where it was coming from,
Right.
and it was quite chaotic. And all I can say is, look, I understand that officer down there. Not me. He would have got blasted on as slow as he is, as afraid as he was. He would have never made it to the door. He would have got killed. That being said, he's in the wrong business.
Exactly.
Okay,
he signed up for it.
That were labeled heroes.
Yeah.
I'm saying that, look, the truth is, no officer went into that room until almost 1 hour after the last shot
That
was
is
fired.
insane.
That's
That
not
is completely insane.
You know,
What is that?
Well, to me, that's an absolute lack of training. Josh, do you know where that training comes from for the officers that were there at Mandalay Bay that day? Do you know who trains them specifically and what type of training they get?
Do not.
All right, well, Josh, let me ask you one more question, and I appreciate your story and you calling in. I really do. If you had a chance right now to be speaking with Officer Cordell Hendricks, you are a hero, okay? You are the man, and look, there are others as well. I'm not trying to single you out as the only hero. We know there were a lot of heroes, and police officers as well. There were a lot of people that did a lot of good that day, okay? But you're one of those heroes that risked his life to take bodies out of there while the shots were still being fired. Okay, what would you say right now to this officer, Cordell Hendricks, who, by the way, still believes he should be a police officer? What would you say to him?
I would say that he should have notified any of his supervisors years ago, put me behind the desk, because I'm not the man that you need on the street.
That is such a great answer.
Hundreds of them.
That is such a great answer. I could not agree with you more. Josh, thank you so much for taking the time to call in, sir. And you are a hero. We're proud to have people like you in Las Vegas. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate
thanks
your
a lot,
call.
Josh.
Thank you. Always great to hear. Man, it's always touching to hear from people. Like, you never know who's listening, right? You never know who's listening. And there's a man who is a bona fide hero. Boy, I take his opinion on this higher than certainly you or me or most others. I'll tell you that right now. Let's take one more call on this. Let's go to Chuck. Chuck, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I have a little different twist. Why the timing now? And, what else aren't they telling us? And could it be the fall guy or scapegoat as well?
JD, my co-host, actually said that when we were off the air, Chuck. So, yeah, you could be right on that. I don't know.
And Chuck, I would agree that scapegoat would make sense if there wasn't any video, but there is video.
Chuck, here's what I think.
About other stuff too.
Absolutely. Chuck, here's what I think. And look, that's a valid question you bring up. Look, the story changed, if you recall, Chuck, 24 hours, 40 hours, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days later. Then we hear about this Mandalay Bay security guard who was shot, and then all of a sudden he leaves the country, and then he comes back and he does the Ellen DeGeneres show. It's bizarre, right? There are a lot of strange things that happen here. And listen, make no mistake about it, I'm not necessarily a conspiracy theorist. I have no question in my mind that Paddock was the only person responsible for this. I'm not some of these lunatics that think the FBI was involved or other people were involved.
I'm 75% that Paddock was involved, but it would not shock me at all if he was an arms dealer and it was an arms deal gone bad.
Well, we're making to me that's a gross assumption, and I don't believe it. I don't think. But then again, Chuck, you make a valid point. Why has some of this evidence come forward 18 months later? It doesn't make any sense, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Chuck, thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate it. Okay.
Hey, thanks, Chuck.
Take it easy.
All right. Thank you for calling in. Like I said, I tell you, man, that was quite a call we had. We just had a call from a man who said he dragged at least 8 bodies while the shooting was taking place. Let me repeat that. While the shooting is taking place, he's taking out shot individuals, injured individuals.
In the line of fire.
It's incredible.
No, we didn't.
Heroism.
We didn't get to ask him if he had a bulletproof vest on or any type of protective.
Okay, here's what I think, and I don't want to get this guy in trouble. He's certainly not a police officer, because if he was a police officer, he wouldn't have said what he said. So he was either working the event, he was a vendor, something. He was working there doing something. Maybe just an unarmed security guard. That's also very possible. It doesn't sound to me like he was a cop, but he didn't want to tell us who he was, which I totally respect and I understand.
He said everybody at Route 91 knows who he is.
Yeah, and that's
which means the promoters, the people who put on the event.
Sure. So he was involved in some way, shape, or form.
I'm guessing he's some type of private security.
You know what? Thank God he was there. Thank God that man was there. Who knows? More people, maybe some of those people that he dragged out of there, maybe they don't survive. I have no doubt about that. But again, we will revisit this story next week, because we're probably I'm telling you right now, folks, I want to get this police union president on, Steve Grammas, who thinks this police officer did nothing wrong and he wants to get him his job back. And we're going to hear excuses. Well, that's not the training. He was told to step down. He was told not to approach the suspect or suspects. I don't want to hear those damn excuses. 58 people died. Then change your procedures. Don't be a police officer.
58 died, and 450 were injured.
And I personally know one woman who invited me to the show that night who was shot in the back, and her life will never be the same again. I was supposed to be at that show. This should be a personal issue for everybody in this town. Everybody.
And I was not, because I was not going to spend $350 on a ticket. Too expensive.